BSCTV presents our coverage of the Bernie Sanders event that happened at the University at Buffalo.
Are you standing up and fighting back? Are you tough? Are you Buffalo? My name's Larry Cohen. I help coordinate Labor for Bernie. Working class families across the country that are ready to stand up and fight back. And I couldn't be prouder than to stand up and fight back with an amazing candidate for President of the United States. Just a few minutes ago, we were at the CWA Hall near the airport. The CWA Local 1122 is part of 40,000 workers that told Verizon just a few hours ago that at 6 a.m. Wednesday, we are standing up, fighting back, going on strike against Bernie. Verizon, with $20 billion a year in profits, the 15th largest corporation in America, moving jobs, call center jobs, to the Philippines because of bad trade deals. Verizon refusing to invest here in Buffalo in high-speed internet, but instead bidding today to buy Yahoo for $35 billion, but no investment here in Buffalo. This is what this campaign is about. It's about working class families. It's about the young people that are here today. It's about what kind of future. I grew up in a row house in North Philadelphia. My great-grandmother owned that house. She said to us, "I'll watch your feet, not your mouth." Anybody can talk. We have another candidate who talks, but we have a candidate here who with his feet is with us.
How many people are here tonight? And we have a few thousand people outside who couldn't get it. Let me thank Debbie Hayes, Alberto Campos, Jim Hightower, Katrina Martin, Brian Nowak, and Larry Cohen for their comments tonight. is a campaign on the move. And your presence here tonight tells me how much energy and enthusiasm we have. And it tells me that if we have a large voter turnout a week from tomorrow, we are going to win in the election. That has won 7 out of the last 8 caucuses. When we began this campaign, we were 70 points behind Secretary Clinton in national polls. There is a good ending to that story. And the good ending is that in the last 2 out of 3 national polls, we are ahead. Which in the last CNN national poll was ahead of Trump by 20 points. I want to begin in a way that I usually don't begin, and just talk about two issues that popped up just today, which really speak to us about where we are as a society. Number one, you may have heard that Goldman Sachs, one of the large financial institutions, you have heard of Goldman Sachs. They reached a settlement with the federal government for $5 billion. Essentially acknowledging that they were selling worthless packages of subprime mortgage loans. They rip it off. It's not just Goldman Sachs, it is virtually every other major financial institution in our country. What this campaign is about is thinking outside of the box and raising issues that other politicians refuse to go near. Is that sad to say, the business model of Wall Street is fraud. They could care less about small or medium-sized businesses. They could care less about consumers in this country. Their only goal is to make as much money as they can for themselves. Why we are going to reestablish a 21st century Glass-Steagall legislation and why we are going to break up the largest financial institutions. That's issue number one. Issue number two that we dealt with today is just about an hour ago. as I was driving here to this arena, I stopped off at the Communications Workers of American Union Hall to talk to some of the workers there. And sadly, but this is what they have to do, the workers of Verizon are going out on strike. Because Verizon, reflecting what corporate America is doing all over this country, is asking them to pay more for their health care and cutting other benefits. Verizon, a very profitable corporation, is outsourcing call service jobs to the Philippines. Verizon is not investing in inner cities in Buffalo, New York. And over the years, Verizon has made billions of dollars in profit, but in a given year has not paid a nickel in taxes. To make billions in profit, to outsource American jobs, to not invest in our communities, to demand that workers get their benefits cut, is what the greed of corporate America is all about. We are going to change that. This campaign is doing as well as it is because we are treating the American people as intelligent human beings. We have the courage to raise the real issues impacting the American people, issues which often do not appear on television or in the corporate media. And let me say to all of you, perhaps what is most important, it is we and our families who have to determine what reality is, not CNN or ABC. Whether it is in our personal lives or in our political lives, the truth is not always pleasant. But we do not go forward as human beings or as a society if we do not have the courage to confront the truth. And here is the truth. Today in America, we have a corrupt campaign finance system where billionaires and powerful special interests and their super PACs are undermining American democracy. American democracy is supposed to mean one person, one vote. You got to vote, you got to vote. It does not mean that the Koch brothers and a handful of other billionaires can spend $900 million in this election cycle to elect candidates who represent the wealthy and the powerful. That is not democracy, that is oligarchy, and we are going to turn that. transformed, it is also a rigged economy. Here is what a rigged economy is about. It is about a nation today that has more income and wealth inequality than almost any major country on earth, and it is worse today than at any time since 1928. A rigged economy is about a nation in which the top 1/10 of 1%, not 1%, 1/10 of 1% now owns almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%. It is about a nation in which the 20 wealthiest people, 20 people, own more wealth than the bottom 150 million Americans, half of our population. It is about one family, the Walton family that owns Walmart. You know the Walton family as well. It's not completely. Walton family, as you know, owns Walmart, the largest private sector employer in America. And turns out that Walmart pays wages that are so low that many of their employees are forced to go on food stamps and Medicaid. What a rigged economy is about is you paying taxes for food stamps and Medicaid in order to subsidize the wealthiest family in America. That's nuts. Say to the Walton family, get off of welfare, pay your workers, pay your facing our country. It's not just a corrupt campaign finance system. It is not just a rigged economy. By the way, an economy today in which our people are working the longest hours of any people in the industrialized world. We got mamas out working, dads out working, the kids are out working, and at the end of all of that, 58% of all new income goes to the top 1%. You want a radical idea? Together, we are going to create an economy that works for all of us, not just for 1%. If we're going to be serious and tackle the real issues facing our country, it's not just a corrupt campaign finance system. It is not just a rigged economy where the rich get richer and almost everybody else gets poorer. It is a broken criminal justice system. Person in this arena tonight should be embarrassed by the fact that the United States of America has more people in jail than any other country on earth. Those people are disproportionately African American, Latino, and Native Americans. together we are going to end that international disgrace. Now, you won't see it in the media terribly often, but today our youth unemployment rates are off the charts. For kids who graduated high school, not dropouts, between 17 and 20, if those kids are white, 33% are unemployed or underemployed. If they are Latino, 36%. If they are African American, 51%. So here is radical idea number 2, which is really not so radical. And that is together. We're going to invest for our young people in jobs and education, not jobs and factories. I know that all of you are tired of looking at videos on television where unarmed people, often African American, are shot or killed. I have been a mayor for 8 years, and I've worked with police officers all over my state and all over this country. The vast majority of police officers are honest, hardworking, and do a very difficult job. Police officers, like any other public official, if they break the law, they must be held accountable. As a nation, we have got to end the militarization of local police departments. Departments in America should not look like occupying armies. We have got to make local police departments reflect the diversity of the communities they serve. We have got to create a situation when police officers all over this country understand that lethal force is the last option, not the first option. We have got to end private corporations owning prisons and detention centers. We have got to rethink the so-called war on drugs. Over the last 30 years, millions of Americans have received prison records because of possession of marijuana. This has destroyed a whole lot of lives. If you have a prison record, not a prison record, but a police record, it's hard to go out and get a job. And this becomes a racial issue because it turns out that blacks and whites do marijuana at about the same rates, but blacks are 4 times more likely to be arrested. Right now, under the Federal Controlled Substance Act, marijuana is listed as a Schedule I drug. alongside of heroin. Now, people can argue the pluses and minuses of marijuana, but nobody thinks that marijuana is equivalent to a killer drug like heroin. And that is why I have introduced legislation which would take marijuana out of the federal control system. Let me say a word about the very strong differences of opinion that I have with Secretary Clinton on a number of important issues. And one of the ways that you can see differences in candidates is how they raise their money for a When we began our campaign 11 months ago, we had to make a very important decision. And that decision was, should we establish a super PAC like every other candidate? We agreed with you. What has occurred over the last 11 months is beyond my belief and something I never in a million years would have thought that I would be telling you. And that is, we have now received over 6 million individual campaign. Greater than any candidate in American history at this point. Anybody here know what the average contribution is? It's like $27. And what this campaign is proving is that we can run a winning national campaign without being dependent on Wall Street and the big government. A very different path toward raising her campaign. She has established several super PACs, and in her recent filing for our largest super PAC, she reported $25 million from special interests, including $15 million from Wall Street. Furthermore, as many of you may know, Secretary Clinton has given a number of speeches on Wall Street to Goldman Sachs and to other financial institutions for $250,000 a speech. $250,000 for an hour or two's work is a pretty good sum of money, I would say. So I figure that if she gets $250,000 for a speech, it must be a brilliant, earth-shattering speech. It must be a speech written in Shakespearean prose. Was so great, I think she should release the transcript. Now, Secretary Clinton has said that she will release the transcripts if other people do the same. So, are you ready, Buffalo? Buffalo, you ready for a dramatic announcement? I am prepared to release all of the transcripts of all of the speeches. And that is pretty easy. There were no speeches. Now, Secretary Clinton and I have also a very strong difference of opinion regarding trade policy in America. Now, I understand that trade policy is not a sexy issue. It's not get covered by the media at all, or virtually at all, but it is enormously important. What has happened over the last 30 or so years as a result of NAFTA and CAFTA and permanent normal trade relations with China and other trade agreements, what has happened is we have seen tens of thousands of factories shut down in America, shut down in Buffalo, when companies throw American workers out on the street and move to Mexico or move to China. In fact, in Buffalo alone, NAFTA has resulted in the loss of 31,000 manufacturing jobs. As a result of permanent normal trade relations with China, that has cost this country over 3 million decent paying jobs, including over 179,000 in New York State. Just as a reminder, and I think many of you know this information more than I do, but from 2006 to 2008, American Axle shut down its plant in Buffalo, shipping its work for the Chevy Camaro to Mexico and eliminating over 700 jobs. In 2008, General Motors powertrains moved another 800 jobs from Buffalo to Mexico, where they could pay workers in Mexico $3.25 an hour. In 2013, Niagara Ceramics threw 110 workers out on the streets because of unfair competition with China. 2003, Motorola moved its circuit board plant from Buffalo to Mexico, and on it goes. I voted against every one of these attacks. Secretary Clinton supported virtually every trade policy. And there is another issue of growing consequence to this area, to New York State, and to states all over this country. And that is the fact that more and more people are drinking water that is poisoned. I was in Flint, Michigan. Several months ago, and to be very honest with you, after talking to some of the families who observed their children being poisoned by lead in the water, who saw their children have their cognitive capabilities reduced. Now imagine being a parent seeing brain damage for your child. I can't think of anything worse than that. But it is not just Flint, Michigan, it is communities all over this country. Now, in my view, when the evidence is overwhelming that fracking is poisoning our water, to phase out fracking. Families in America should not have to worry about whether their water, their drinking water, has toxic chemicals in it. I'm proud that my state of Vermont led the nation in phasing out fracking, and I salute all of you for demanding that your state government do the same. Secretary Clinton and I differ on the issue of fracking. She wants to increase regulations on fracking. That does not go far enough. Secretary Clinton, when she was Secretary of State, worked with some of the largest fossil fuel companies to push fracking in countries all over the world. That was a mistake. Secretary Clinton and I also disagree on foreign policy issues. In 2002, the most important foreign policy debate in the modern history of America took place. And that debate, of course, was on whether or not we invade Iraq. I listened very carefully to what President Bush, Dick Cheney, and all the rest had to say about it. And not only did I vote against that war, I helped lead the opposition for that war. Secretary Clinton heard exactly the same evidence that I heard. She voted for that war, the worst foreign policy blunder in the modern history of America. This campaign is going to win because we are listening to the American people, not wealthy campaign dependents. country who tell us they can't make it on $8 or $9 an hour. I want to raise the national minimum wage to $15 an hour. And when we talk about equitable wages, all of you know that women today are making 79 cents on the dollar compared to men. And if those women are African American or Latino, that gap is even wider. What women are telling me is they want the whole damn dollar. Will stand with the women and the fight. This campaign is listening to young people. And what young people are telling me is how does it happen with all of the new technology and increases in worker productivity, that unless we turn this economy around, your generation, the young people's generation, will likely have, for the first time in the modern history of America, a lower standard of living than your parents. The American dream, that has been my life. My family did not have a lot of money. In fact, we lived in a rent-controlled apartment in Brooklyn, New York. But my dad and my mother worked hard so that we could have, my brother and I could have a better standard of living than they have. And that's called the American dream. Millions of families have done the same. Together, we are not going to allow that dream to end. We are going to create an economy where young people will have a decent standard of living. And when you listen to young people, what they tell me is how does it happen that when we do what we were supposed to do, what our parents wanted, what our teachers wanted, what our community wanted, what our society wanted, and that is to go out and get the best education that we could, how does it happen that because we do the right thing, we end up $30,000, $50,000, $70,000 in debt? Think outside the box. Think outside of the status quo. Why in God's name would we be punishing millions of people because they did the right thing and got an education? We should be rewarding young people, not punishing people. All of you know that the United States needs to have the best educated workforce in the world if we are to succeed in a highly competitive global economy. And all of you know that in many respects, a college degree today, in 2016, is roughly the equivalent of what a high school degree was 50 years ago. Do you know that 50 years ago you had a high school degree, you were considered well-educated, you can go out and get a pretty good job. But the world has changed, the economy has changed, technology has changed. In my view, when we talk about public education today, it is not good enough to talk about first grade through 12th grade. We have got to make public colleges and universities tuition free. Do not think or let anybody try to convince you that this is some kind of a radical idea. It is not. There are countries all over the world who are doing that right now, who are investing in their future, in the education. And let me further shock you by telling you that 50 years ago in America, some of our greatest public colleges and universities were virtually tuition free. If we could have public colleges and universities tuition free 50 years ago, don't tell me we cannot do it today. We have got to deal with the crisis of student debt. Anybody here with student debt? Well, welcome to the club. There are millions of people in your boat, and that's why I believe that we should substantially lower student debt by allowing those people with that debt to refinance their loans at the lowest interest rates. This campaign is listening to senior citizens and disabled veterans who tell me they cannot make it on $11,000 or $12,000 a year Social Security. The Republicans, if you can believe it, actually want to cut Social Security benefits. We are not going to allow them to do that. In fact, we're going to raise Social Security. This campaign is listening to the African American community. And they are asking me, how does it happen that we can spend trillions of dollars fighting a war in Iraq that we never should have gotten into, yet apparently we don't have the money to reinvest, to rebuild the inner cities of this country. This campaign is listening to the Latino community. They are telling me that with 11 million undocumented people in this country, they are tired of being exploited, tired of living in the shadows. They want, I want, comprehensive immigration reform and a comprehensive campaign is listening to a group of people whose voices are very rarely heard, and that is the Native American community. Anyone here who has studied 5 minutes of American history knows that from day one, before we were a nation, when the settlers first came here, that Native Americans were lied to, they were cheated, and the treaties that they negotiated were often broken. Truth is that we owe the Native American people a debt of gratitude that we can never repay. Some of the best aspects of our culture come from the Native American people. And among many other things, they have taught us that as human beings, we are part of nature, and if we go about destroying nature, nature, this civilization will not survive. But yet, despite all that we have learned and all that we owe to the Native American people, the truth is that on reservations and in Native American communities all over this country, there is today desperation. Poverty rates, very high. Educational systems inadequate, healthcare not accessible, young people in the neighborhood, suicide rates for young people is shockingly high. If elected president, we will change our government's relationship to the Native American people. Let me repeat a statement that I've made in the past, which has brought forth a lot of criticism. So let me repeat it again, so there is no misunderstanding. I believe that health care is a right of all people. Thinking outside of the box. You have to ask yourselves, how does it happen that the United States of America, our great nation, is the only major country on earth, the only one, that does not guarantee health care to all people as a right? who charge us the highest prices. And then on top of all of that, we end up spending far more than any other country per capita on healthcare. And the people of New York have the possibility of making American history, of making this great state go forward for a political revolution. This is what I've learned in this campaign so far. And that is when the voter turnout is high, when working people and young people come in and demand that we have a government that represents all of us, not just the few on top. When we have a large voter turnout, we win. Is when there is a low voter turnout, we lose. So I would hope that a week from tomorrow, on the 19th of April, New York State sees the largest voter turnout in its primary. It's not just about electing Bernie Sanders, it is about creating a political revolution. It's not me, it is all of us. On April 19th, New York can make history. Let's do it. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to our coverage of the Bernie Sanders rally. For more information on the election and other things, follow BSCTV on all social media platforms. Thank you.